Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Sorty. Yesterday, Spencer Schwellenbach made his major league debut, and the Braves offense greeted him so kindly by showing him what he has in store at the major league level because they can't score a run. But I thought Spencer Schwellenbach, and I talked about it, I said I had high expectations. He did give up 3 runs. He gave up the one mistake in the fifth inning, but that second inning in particular, super impressive. Adam Duvall makes an error, puts a runner on third who should have been on first with nobody out. Schwellenbach gets out of there. You saw strikeout capability. He had 5 strikeouts. He did give up hits in there, but I thought he looked poised. You saw the control. There were a couple calls that were missed that could have been strikeouts, but it never seemed to rattle him. Maybe he got a little rattled at the end after the hit by pitch where the guy got hit in the head. That could have had something to do with it. That's a really tough thing, especially on an MLB debut. I mean, he may have never he could have gone his entire major league career or his entire career of baseball never hitting someone in the face like that where you're really worried. And then that happens in your MLB debut. That's a tough thing to overcome. But I thought all positives, especially from the stuff side. 96, 97, good cutter in the low 90s, curveball, slider, changeup, legit 5-pitch mix, good control. I saw enough where I'm like, this guy could finally be the answer to the fifth starter in the Braves rotation, which has been a problem for maybe 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, he certainly deserves another spot, start or two, you could argue. And the hit by pitch was obviously not his fault. It was going to be high and tight, and the guy just so happened to be bunting on that pitch. It was more scary than I think it was actually hurtful. Because the guy was just laying there, and I'm not gonna, call him a baby or anything, but it hit him in the helmet. It barely even touched him in the face, and he was laying there acting like he was bleeding from his eye, which I'm sure impacted Schwellenbach. And you never know how a guy's going to respond to that. He ended up walking or getting a guy getting a hit after that, and then obviously we know he gave up the home run. But I think even if you didn't know what actually happened and you just saw a stat line, you would do something along the lines of, that's pretty good. Yeah, I'm eager to see more. And I think when we were talking yesterday, this was the perfect start. I think, not too high, not too low in terms of Braves fans, where Braves fans are, it's somewhere in the middle. This kid isn't going to come out and be a Cy Young, and he's not going to be absolute crap. I think, he definitely showed enough to get another start or two. And I'm excited to see what more he can do because, as you alluded to, the stuff absolutely plays at this level. The stuff is like frontline starter stuff. Now, there's a lot more that goes into it than being a frontline starter than just stuff. But that is one of the biggest components. And he's got that in spades. He's got 3+ offerings that get swing and miss stuff. I mean, that's great. I mean, for a guy who's just trying to be the fifth starter, we've got 4 spots locked down, just trying to be the fifth starter. You got to be impressed.
Yeah, I think you have to temper expectations given that
Yes.
the guys only had 2 starts above the high A level. But as I said going into this, I have more faith in Schwellenbach than I did AJ Smith-Shawver or potentially Hurston Waldrop. The reason he got this start over Hurston Waldrop, who's been in AA, who's been in AAA, who's been to Braves training camp. I mean, Spencer Schwellenbach hasn't even been to a Braves spring training, and he's out there, with a new catcher that he's never thrown to. I mean, there were times I was listening on the radio because I was driving back home that they were talking about Travis d'Arnaud getting kind of out there on his fastball because he's like, whoa, this thing has some kick to it. And it looks like he's throwing easy gas. It's the motion is very simple. It's very controlled. Yep. You saw him make some athletic plays coming off the mound. Like, he's an athlete. He's a shortstop.
Yeah.
He's a shortstop that played at the collegiate level, and he was drafted as a 2-way player. Now, the Braves quickly decided he was going to be a pitcher. But as I said, Dana Brown, who was the Braves director of scouting, said this might have been the best draft pick, the best guy, the guy he was most excited about out of all of his draft picks, which include Michael Harris, Spencer Strider, guys that have won Rookie of the Year's awards, guys that are in the conversations. And you saw that. You saw why last night, because he, mentally he seems a little bit more put together than a lot of the young arms. And I think a lot of that might have to do with being a shortstop as well. But physically, he has all the tools. And I came away from the start and I said, yo, this guy's got it. Like, this guy can be an impact player right now. And, maybe he does have to bounce around AAA. I hope not. Hopefully he goes out there and shove in his second start. But I really do. I'm really high on Spencer Schwellenbach. I was high coming into the start, as you guys know if you watched the show yesterday. And I would say I'm even higher now. I really liked what I saw. And I know it's the Nationals. I know he gave up 3 runs. I know there were some hits here and there, but the control's there. He's poised and he's got the stuff. I mean, that's those are kind of, if you're talking about 3 things you need, those are the 3 things you need to succeed in this league. And he seemed to show that more often than not.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to come in other than maybe Paul Skeens is going to come in and immediately
best pitching prospect of all time.
Yeah, nobody's going to come in and immediately dominate like that. And I think especially when you're skipping a AAA level, that is incredibly important. I know that Braves fans are kind of just, have been normalized to this AA jump to the major league level. It is incredibly difficult to do. And what he went out there and did somewhat on short notice. I mean, all things considered, he hopped on a bus or a flight. Hopefully it was a flight, and was kind of out of his routine. Now back settled into his routine, gonna get this second start. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Well, I even saw, I think it was a TikTok of Spencer Schwellenbach's girlfriend, right? And I know if you old heads, you might not know what TikTok is, but it was a short form video of Spencer Schwellenbach's girlfriend giving him a hug, talking about, hey, when you're, at here and he gets called up to AAA. I don't even know if his girlfriend knew that he was getting called up to the big leagues, not AAA. He was skipping a level entirely. He only had 2 starts, 2, count them, 1 and 2 above the high A level. So yes, the rise that he had, but you only do that. And I know the Braves are a little desperate, but they weren't desperate enough to do this unless they felt like they had a ton of confidence in who this guy is as a pitcher up here, up in the head, which is 90% of what a pitcher is, especially in a volatile position like a starting pitcher. They only do that if they know you're good from the neck above.
Yeah, and I think it's quite obvious because though there wasn't an obvious candidate in Gwinnett, there were guys who could go up there and get called up and just give them a spot start and get called back down. Bryce Elder, Darius Vines, Dodd. There were plenty of options.
David Fletcher.
Yeah, David Fletcher. There's plenty of guys who could have just came up and given them a spot start and been like, just try and get us whatever you can. And the bullpen has not been taxed whatsoever this season. They could have even thrown a bullpen game. They wanted to see what this guy's got, and the confidence in him to skip Gwinnett completely shows what kind of stuff this kid has. Obviously, you point to the mental aspect, but the physical aspect is just as important when it comes to starting pitching. And I'm super excited to see him pitch again in 5 days.
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten infinitely better over just the offseason. It's really exciting. He's up there, right there. Just like I thought. There was AJ Smith-Shawver, Hurston Waldrop kind of in a tier by themselves.
You could argue he's the top one.
Schwellenbach is right there, and Owen Murphy, who we'll talk about later in the show, is right there as well. But I do want to say one more thing because I brought his name up. We're not going to do a whole segment on him, but David Fletcher was out there in Gwinnett making a start. Yes, the David Fletcher who we acquired to be our utility man, who's been in Gwinnett most of the season, is now starting games for the Gwinnett Stripers as a knuckleballer, and he's having success. He struck out Jackson Holiday yesterday. He had 6 strikeouts over 5 innings, only allowed 3 hits, 2 runs, 3 hits over 5 innings, and 6 strikeouts. Hey, I'm all here. Listen, David Fletcher is one of the most intriguing storylines of this entire Braves season. The guy comes to be the utility man. He's only appeared in 5 games for the Braves. He gets hooked up with Ippy Shohei Ohtani's interpreter in that gambling ring, betting along. He's been accused of betting along with that same illegal bookmaker. He used to be Shohei Ohtani's best friend, so that's a huge storyline. And now, instead of just like being in Gwinnett playing second base or whatever, he is out there starting games. And not only is he starting games, he's having success as a knuckleballer. I mean, that is an exciting storyline that we should all be paying more attention to. Spencer Schwellenbach was great, but David Fletcher, that was insane.